Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Fuel R/RaceTrackDesigns IndyCar Racing Series. This is round number 11 of 14 here at probably one of the quickest, one of the trickiest, and probably one of the wildest races you're going to be seeing all season long here at Auto Club. We've been seeing a driver being on a streak. That's Liam Quinn. He's gotten 2 wins in the last 3 races and finished second back at Road America. He might be going for his 3rd win this season. A driver that is finally back after missing a couple of weeks, Jason Brophy. We'll see if that 88 machine can step it up and possibly go for a win. But my name is Sam Dyer. With me is Anthony McCurry. And Anthony, during practice, we were seeing a lot of drivers throwing it all around, and we're expecting to see a lot of 5-wide racing.
Oh yeah, the track is wide enough for it, and the fact that these cars are so aero-dependent at this racetrack, we saw a bunch of groups that got together, and no one was really able to get away from each other if you were out in front. Being that the track is that fast and the track is that wide, 5 wide going down the front and backstretch, maybe even to the turns, not a big surprise if that happens, but you know, it's a long race too, 154 laps, not exactly the shortest race this season, so you got to keep your stuff together for that entire time. We keep bringing up Gateway, but Gateway was one of those places where it was a battle of survival. Do you think that this will also be a battle of survival?
I'm expecting to be a lot more of a kinder race than it was last week at Kentucky. Kentucky at night, we saw drivers on top of each other the whole entire night, always pack racing, and Liam Quinn was the one who was able to survive and get the win there. I'm expecting sort of like that. When we were seeing drivers going 3 wide and we were surprised by that, we're going to be surprised we see drivers going 7, 8 wide. Just because of how wide this track is, you can go 5 wide very comfortably if you want it.
Oh yeah, for sure. And because of that, you're right. It probably will be a little less chaotic, especially going into the turns. We saw, like you said, at Kentucky, it was nonstop all race long. This one maybe some of the same, but we'll have to wait and see what happens as you're looking at the cars starting to roll off. And you'll notice, speaking of Brophy, he's starting on the pole for tonight's race. He got in a really fast lap late in the qualifying session, and he stole the pole away from our provisional pole sitter, which was, I believe, Riley Thompson, who is our provisional pole sitter. So he'll start in first place. And, you know, you mentioned he had missed a couple of races, looking back into getting in form. And, you know, a pole certainly will help that.
Yeah, and then you also got, Eric Gonzalez there, Riley Thompson, Chad Simpson, Danny Roberts, Liam Quinn, Evan Adams, Barrett Rolfe, as well as it's going to be Byron Daly and Doug South as your top 3 as they're coming out of 4, getting ready to go green. That's the rest of your grid. This is going to be a wild race to watch these drivers going by as the pace truck pulls off. Green flag in the air. It's time to go racing here at Auto Club. Leading the way is Jason Brophy as he gets a fantastic start on the inside, trying to pull away from the rest of the field. But just because of how big and how much the draft is going to be utilized here, the tow is going to be used a lot, and everyone's going to be staying pretty much pack racing all race long.
Yeah, indeed, it's going to be like super speedway racing for stock cars. As you can see, Gonzalez already pulled up to the rear wing of the leader, and now he's going to go to the inside as you see them fan out down the back stretch. Give the new lead to Eric Gonzalez in the 42. Here comes your points leader, Thompson, to the inside of Brophy, going to take the position away too, and this is going to be like the battle all race long. It's going to be constantly swapping out the lead of the race. Who has the better aero package? Who can get the power down quicker as we're trying to get single filed out, but so far, everyone minding their own business.
Everyone's staying pretty clean and trying to figure out how they want to enter these corners. I mean, a lot of these drivers want to be close to that outside wall and get a good, nice arcing sweep into the corner and try to stick on the inside the best as possible. But due to the fact everyone's going to be so spread out, you got to be careful not to have a shallow entry into these corners. If your arc is bad, you could honestly ruin your whole entire corner here.
Yeah, and sometimes if you do that, you'll slide up the racetrack, it'll go up and brush the wall, but most of these guys are going to try and hold it down on the inside as much as they possibly can. That at that point, it'll be on the apron, and no one's going to dare make a pass down there. I say that, we're going to go 3 wide.
3 wide. Here we go for the lead. Barrett Rolfe backs out of it. It's going to be Gonzalez on the inside with Riley Thompson in the middle. Barrett Rolfe backing out of it. We'll want to give you an update. Drivers did have to start in the back, on pit road. That was going to be Evan Adams and Liam Quinn, both starting from the pits.
Yeah, Liam Quinn going to have to hope that a yellow comes out because he's not going to catch the field at the rate he's going. There's about a half a lap between him and the leaders at the moment as we see them single file out between the top four, although they're getting awful racy here. Here comes Brophy again with a run at the back. Here comes Rolf again with the run, trying to make that pass work. To the inside goes Gonzalez to defend his position on Thompson. These drivers getting a bit racy early on, but the track's wide enough you can make these runs stick, and it's kind of just, cruise control for some of these drivers as we go too wide again for the lead.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of these drivers that are going up front, they want to lead as many laps as possible just to stay up front and try to get a good run here. Other drivers, they're thinking about survival. I mean, and also trying to see how impactful is the draft to start moving up and moving forward, as you're starting to see there. That's Will Roberts in the 27 machine getting under Danny Roberts now as they're almost making contact. 3 wide action here for 4th place.
Yeah, they were 3 wide for the moment, but they settled it out. Now snaking down the backstretch, getting to the inside line, now weaving to the outside line. Still 2 wide between Danny Roberts, and that would be Chad. I'm sorry, that is Chad Simpson up the top line of the racetrack. Actually, he's a little bit further back. That's Will Roberts behind. And Jason Brophy trying to get around. The lead is still side by side. These cars are still snaking around, but they're actually starting to gap each other a bit. If you look at the middle of the pack, look around by like Byron Daly and Doug Smith, Kai Bommerschbach. They're starting to get a little bit spread out, trying to run single car racing. Again, a long race, not one of our shorter races this season. It's going to take a long time to complete this one, so you got to stay out for as long as you can, try to run your race, and those drivers seem like they're willing to do that early on.
Yeah, and there's plenty of space on this track. You really don't need to force the issue anywhere. As we say that for the lead, they're forcing the issue as Eric and Thompson almost make contact. Here comes Brophy now on the outside. It just looks like that third lane cannot carry the momentum that they need to make it 3 wide all the way through the corner. But coming to the corner, Brophy gets really close there as now they're snaking it down the backstretch.
Yeah, they're trying to get an advantage anywhere they can. That top side does not seem to be the right way to go as these cars kind of arch a little bit up as they go through the turns. You kind of want to diamond these turns as best as you can. Start on the outside, dip down to the inside, and then if you have to, go to the outside, carry some momentum, and then snake it down to the inside again. We've seen a lot of drivers do that. The leader is still Gonzalez. He holds the lead of the race with commanding form, as he's had a lot of drivers go 2 and 3 wide with him, and still at this stage in the race, lap 8, he still holds the lead. But how long is there's a lot of contenders right behind him.
Yeah, that last lap, Eric Gonzalez put down his fastest lap of the day with a 33.1. And we're coming to lap 9 being completed. Like you said, this is going to be a very long race. 154 laps they need to put down here. And compared to last week, they were at a shorter track, 1.5 miles, and they only ran 134 laps. This is a 2-mile course that they're going to be running here. I mean, it is huge how big this course is. And running 154 laps, it's going to be such a long race.
Indeed, and you're going to have mental fortitude throughout the whole race. It's tough on the drivers as far as physically, but it's also tough on them mentally being this close together at these speeds. We're seeing 216 miles an hour from the leader. We're seeing about 218 from drivers that are in pack. Through the straights, we're actually seeing them dip into the 230s. Barrett Rolfe at 227 miles an hour going down to the inside. He's going to take the lead away from Gonzalez, but Gonzalez has a fight for him on the outside, trying to get that position back. He's going to go down to the inside as they rocket down the backstretch. These drivers are pulling some tremendous speeds here tonight.
If anything, that is a key point to keep behind your behind you in your mind. Barrett Rolfe tried the outside line 2 times there. It did not work for him. Tried the inside lane going into turn number 1 and 2, and it worked great. He did not have the momentum, though, going through the backstretch. So where he lost the position. So right now, Barrett Rolfe needs to figure out, how do I make this pass work going through 3 and 4 so I have a chance to make a pass possibly at the end of the race if needed, as these drivers are all still scattered. And we're starting to see just one pack, our first pack here, and then we're starting to see a pretty good gap between Sarah Tessum and Mike Hurley. Hurley, the leader of our second group that we're starting to see grow here.
And that's really not a huge gap between himself and Tessum either. So kind of laying back, they're within shot of the draft off the main pack, so they could get back up at any point in this race and try to get back up. Sarah Tessum, speaking of her going on a battle with Byron Daly, Tessum had a great run at that would be Kentucky that she had a great run at. She was in the top 10 for a lot of the race and in the top 5 at some point. But I believe finished 8th or 7th after the day was over. So looking for another good run. She's in the top 10 now. Just put Daly behind her. Now going after Cohen Evans. There's a whole lot of cars right there ready to pass. As you got Evans, Brophy, Bommersbach, both of the Roberts, Simpson. It's a lot that she can take in, and hopefully she has a good run here tonight. And we'll have to see and check on her progress as she's now catching up to Cohen Evans.
All right, now we're staying on board with the leaders at the moment. Still side-by-side action. And when we were running down through all those names, there's one that you did not hear, and that was Matt Hollabaugh, who will not be running for the rest of the season after an incident that he had with Danny Roberts last week. That machine will not be running for the rest of the season. A shame to see, but, there are penalties out there for some of those instances that we see.
Yeah, it's always a shame when you have a driver go out because of that, but yeah, there was some heavy contacts this week at Kentucky, and the stewards thought that it was time to park you for the season, so we will not be seeing Hollabaugh for the rest of the season. It was a shame, too. I believe he was mired pretty high in the point standings going into Kentucky. He's actually going to lose all that ground, and now it's kind of opened the door for Riley Thompson to walk away, although he had a pretty poorly run at Kentucky, we'll have to say that, as being involved in that late race incident that took a lot of the leaders out of contention. He was involved in that, so the point standings kind of got a little bit closer, but so far, according to everything that I've gotten, it's still him up at the front of the field as far as the points go.
Yeah, Riley Thompson should still be up there, as you're seeing, as it's going to be Eric Gonzalez still leading the way. Well, let's take a little look back here as Daly making a charge past Tessum, but also wanted to look back at they were getting close here, though, as Cohen Evans trying to block a little bit here on the 60 machine. Here comes the 70. They're 3 wide for a second there. This is a battle now for 9th place, and Sarah Tessum on the inside should be able to take that position away, as it's just going to be action constantly throughout the day as they keep on battling back and forth. Great action here at Auto Club, but Liam Quinn, who is in the 4 machine, has had a fantastic 3 weeks, the past 3 weeks here in the r/RaceTrackDesigns iRacing Series, IndyCar Series, and right now running in 20th place, about 16.5 seconds back from the leader. And if we stay green all the way to the end, in jeopardy of losing and going a lap down, is that 4 machine.
Yeah, and that's not what he wanted to have, and he's just trying to keep face and try to have something happen for him during this period. And, we saw him have a bunch of good runs, in fact, and just not having it here tonight. But we'll have to see if he gets a late race yellow, he can maybe get something going and perhaps get himself back up to the front of the field.
As once again, they're still battling here. Now this is for 10th place as Daly's been able to get by. Mike Hurley now seeing where he wants to place his nose as Daly and Tessum continue to battle back. And actually, this is Cohen Evans, battling back and forth as they continue to fight out. We're going to move now up to 5th place, where we're seeing Chad Simpson and Will Roberts battling it out. But Anthony, I know that you've got some numbers on what the fuel is going to be looking like for these drivers, as we're still green. Now 18 laps have been ran, 19 now. What's the window that these drivers are looking at so far this race?
We're looking at anywhere between a 38 window if they're in clean air and a 40 lap with draft. If you're trying to save fuel towards the end of a run, then you can maybe squeeze 42 laps out of it. So a pretty big window, all things considered. We've seen a lot of races so far this season where the window is really short. So a 38 lap window at this track, that's pretty substantial when you think about just how long the track is and how long these lap times are. Even though that we're at a 2.5 mile track, it's still every bit of more than 30 seconds to get around, which is crazy. But here, knowing that we have that bit of a window, so it gives some drivers some time to play with some things. It gives them an opportunity to try and think of some strategies for the long term, maybe try to get that going for them. And towards the end of the race, it might benefit some of those drivers that, maybe are trying to save a little bit of fuel, because they'll have at least 4 laps more fuel than some of these leaders will.
Yeah, you got to start thinking about when I want to pit, because looking at the tires so far, we've been running now 21 laps for these drivers. and their lap times maybe are off by about a tenth ish. I mean, they're really not off much between what they've been running at the start of the race to what they're running now, which is extremely impressive to see, as they're really not off one another, which is helping Liam Quinn right now really not lose or gain time, so still staying on the lead lap. So if a caution comes out, that 4 machine will be back in action, as it's looking like it's been pretty difficult for a lot of these cars to make any type of passes at the moment. But so far, looking good for our leader of Eric Gonzalez, still ahead of Barrett Rolfe, and it's looking like it's difficult now. After about 15 laps, that's when everyone starts to calm down, stay single filed up, and really not able to make too many passes. As I say that, Danny Roberts is just dropping back, and that 41 machine was battling Will Roberts, and now looks like he'll be losing even more positions, as Daly now below the 41 machine, as Roberts looking for redemption after last week and trying to come up with a top 5 finish here, and really just waiting for his time to start moving forward, as also our pole sitter Brophy slowly charging forward after dropping back for a second, as Will Roberts and Danny Roberts almost making contact, as they are still all battling around here, as Brophy's now up to 5th place, and so now they're all single filing up. I mean, Anthony, we were expecting a lot of pack drafting and pack driving. Right now, it looks like it's a lot of single file racing. Is that kind of surprising to see at this point?
The aero package with this specific package, yes and no. It really depends on how you've got the car set up, and a lot of it really depends on how aero dependent these drivers are going to be. And if we see some of these drivers that are aero dependent, they will be wanting that draft in order to keep up with some of the other drivers. However, if you see some of these drivers who are able to stay up at the front, not really need the draft as much, as you see Gonzalez has pretty much been able to put his car wherever he wants to and able to keep the lead of the race. He's got a more loose setup, a more open setup that he can use that will get around, as we see him actually go on the inside of Rolfe, or Barrett Rolfe goes the inside of him, I should say. As he goes that way, it seems that he can like I said, he can put his car wherever he wants to and be able to get that car running in the right direction. Some of these also might due to tires falling off, because we're about middle or late into a fuel run for some of these drivers. So you got to think that the tires are also starting to struggle a little bit, as this racing surface is not one of the newer ones that we come to. So it's going to be a little bit more difficult to keep the tires from falling off as much as you would like them to, as we see the many grooves that this track has from just years of having the California sun beat down on it for however long this track has been a track, at least since the mid-2000s, early 2000s. Is, you know, I don't think it's been repaved once, and if it has, it was for a brief stint, and it's definitely got worn in since then. But as you see, Gonzalez continuing to try to keep up with Rolfe, as Rolfe has actually gotten a bit of a lead now.
Yeah, I think Rolfe might have been playing a possum here, as he was waiting for Gonzalez's tires to finally fade away so that he can make the pass and start pulling away himself, as now we've got ourselves over a half a second gap between the 33 and the 42 for the lead. Biggest lead so far as they continue to run this way. Another gap that we're starting to see is Riley Thompson has gotten away from Jason Brophy, as Brophy now makes the pass here on Chad Simpson, and also, here comes Will Roberts. Daly was right on the back bumper of Brophy for a while there, but losing touch and no longer able to keep up with himself. As Liam Quinn, yes, he's not losing time, but I'm looking at his track and his telemetry. If this 4 machine ever finds the draft and is in a chance to get through the field, he is someone to watch out for and could possibly go for another win this season.
Yeah, no kidding. He's shown some pretty fast speeds running by himself. It's very comparable to the way the leaders are running. And he's actually starting to catch the tail end of the overall pack, being that 59 of Adam Evans, who's actually kind of lost touch with the 43 of DiCienzo, who is new to this series. And we haven't really talked much about him. He hasn't really had his presence felt at the top of the field, but we have a new face here in this race, and that would be the 43 of Dakota DiCienzo. And so far running 18th, not exactly the best outing he could have hoped for, but it's early on in the race, and he was in the middle of the pack at the start, so we'll have to see if he can work his way up back to the front, because we got a long way to go. We have multiple pit cycles to go through. We'll have to see how he can do on pit road, and it's actually going to the outside of Evan Adams, who is a series regular, so keeping touch with the veterans in this league as well. Yeah,
trying to make as many moves forward as possible are these drivers, as They're keeping it up. Doug South, who started in the middle of the field, is now dropped all the way back to 18th. It looks like that 8 machine struggling here. We'll see if he's able to come back at all. As we move back up front, it's now looking like Eric Gonzalez might have used up too much of his stuff as he's being reeled in by the 56 machine of Riley Thompson. And Thompson's just been lingering and waiting for Gonzalez to fade back, as I don't know what the 42 did. He had to burn up his tires way more than everyone else because his lap times are about 2 to 3 tenths slower than the rest of the field.
Trying to keep up the lead, trying to defend all the powers of coming up through the field, and they were trying to keep that going and didn't really have the option to save tires. Kind of had to fall back, and well, now he's having to fall back after losing all that time that he tried to get the tires to be in the situation they are now. And you know, when you defend like that, when you have to defend the constant bombarding of a lot of drivers, especially the likes of Rolf Thompson and Brophy, who are no slouches on ovals, when you have to defend that lap after lap, then your tires are going to fall off super, super quick. And, you know, I think we're seeing, like you said, we're seeing the aftermath of that, as now here comes Thompson trying to go to the outside, trying to make something work. Thompson's had kind of fallen back a bit as well.
Our first driver coming to the pits, it's going to be the 10 of Tessiro that's coming in, of Joseph Tessiro in the 10 machine. So surprising to see. This is kind of early from what our records were looking like coming into this race. So coming in about 6 laps earlier than what most drivers might be thinking about. So maybe short pitting, trying to get any type of advantage as possible. It's a very quick pit stop for the 10 as we move back up for that battle for second place. Riley Thompson, who just blinked for a second, kind of nerve-wracking for Gonzalez, is Riley Thompson now to second place, but he's almost 2 seconds back from Brophy.
Yeah, he's got a long way to go. He's got a long way to go.
In fourth.
Yeah, Brophy's in fourth, and Gonzalez is now going for second again. So these two continue to dogfight. That's going to bring Brophy and Will Roberts into the mix. And Byron Daly back there, he's got a win this season too, looking for his second win of the season. He won, I believe that was Silverstone, where he
won. Was Road America where he
won.
Road
America is where he won.
Yeah.
So won at Road America. Now he's trying to get his second win of the season. Running 6th at the moment, but
well, you almost took out Will Roberts there.
Almost. He just caught it, so no harm, no foul. He actually gets the 5th place position out of that. Gonna keep going. So now he's gonna try to run down Jason Brophy, and once he gets there, we've seen these two tangle on the racetrack before, a couple weeks ago and even last week. So these guys are kind of used to being next to each other. Well, not Jason Brophy really, but a couple of drivers. They tangled with each other in other series that we've seen, and you know they're pretty good when they get next to each other. So it's going to be a really good show to watch.
I mean, this is your gap. There's Barrett Rolfe in the 33 there, and then Riley Thompson, Gonzalez, and also Brophy. That 3-car battle as they're trying to figure out where they're going to be placed as they continue to be running as hard as possible here. And they're coming to that point where it's going to be about 3 laps away from pit stops opening up for these drivers. Do you pit earlier than that? Do you try to push it to 42 possibly? I mean, some of these drivers probably were thinking about saving as much as you can, but the window has opened for whenever you feel like you need to come in. And it looks like Dakota in the 43 is going to be that first car in starting that train, as well as Liam Quinn.
So these two were running at the back of the field. They really had nothing to lose. Why not try the short pit and see what you can get on fresher tires? As the tires, I think, would have fallen off a little bit more than the fuel run might have. But then again, these cars have a lot of downforce, so maybe tire wear is not as big of an issue as we thought. But running at the back, trying to get toward the front,
comes in,
and that shoots everything out of the water. So now we have one of our front runners coming in. So now it's actually opened up pretty early for these drivers.
Pretty long stops for Liam Quinn and others, as they are all going to be going 1 lap down for now. Eric Gonzalez, I mean, this pit stall is huge. You had this go so slow through here and trying to get down to your stop. As you said, Barrett Rolfe into the pits.
Rolfe is starting to come in, almost spun it going down pit road, trying to slow it down, and got the rear end of the car a little bit loose. He's the only one that's opted to come down this lap, so everyone thinking that they can go further, and that might be a product of him racing hard with Gonzalez and the like, as he's going to have to come down. So we'll have to see how this affects the rest of his race. He had a pretty sizable lead going on to pit road, so he might carry that over when they come out back on track. And We look now to Jason Brophy stays out this time. Thompson stays out this time. Daly stays out this time. No one coming down this time. So interesting. Seeing a lot of drivers pit early. As I say that, here comes Munoz.
Rodrigo Munoz is going to be bringing that 09 into the pits and trying to get as much as you can. Looking at some of these pit stops and how long they've been, Evan Adams had a pretty short stop. Some of our longer stops so far has been Liam Quinn and also Eric Gonzalez. And yeah, like you were saying, I mean, these drivers were pushing it hard. And Rolf, as well as Gonzalez, really didn't have the potential of utilizing the draft to try to save any fuel, as that's another machine driving by. That's going to be Evan Adams in the pits coming in. A lot more coming in. Riley Thompson, Sarah Tessum, both pulling their cars into the pits. So shuffling coming in at a lot of different times. So now all the drivers that are going to be coming in this next time, they have to come in here in the next 2 laps, or most likely they might run out of fuel out there.
Yeah, the window can only stay open.
Tessa overshot.
Tessa, that's going to be another thing that she's going to have to deal with as she overshoots his pit, or her pit road, or her pit box, I should say, is Brophy stays out, Daly stays out again, so they're going to try and stretch it as far as they can. Bomberspach and Chad Simpson are also staying out on the racetrack. Someone that's coming now is going to be Cohen Evans down on the pit road, as well as the 27. That is going to be
Will Roberts.
Will Roberts coming down pit road. As another one back there, the 49 coming down pit road as well. So a lot of drivers coming down. This time, Brenton Jones is going to be the latest of those, and we should see the leaders on pit road anytime now, as they only have really 1 lap that they could do it. And here comes Jason Brophy in the 88, going to come down and get his service. And here comes Byron Daly. Here comes Bomberspach. Here comes Simpson. So here comes the leaders. Some drivers stayed out, though. We're seeing some drivers go around, that being the 56. I believe those are actually cars that have already pitted, just trying to cycle around. So all of the leaders are now on pit road, and we have to see who can get out first. But it's really going to be dependent on how good of a stop did our leader Barrett Rolfe have as he came in, because he should cycle around as the leader again.
He should, and at the moment, Barrett Rolfe has over a 5.5 second gap over Eric Gonzalez, which is a massive gap compared to where it was before he came to the pits. It was almost a little bit over 2 seconds, as Mike Hurley, who was your leader, now coming into the pits this time. As as I look, Barrett Rolfe, there he is in the lead, as other drivers are starting to get going again. Gonzalez should get by all of them. He just got by Daly. Riley Thompson still behind him. But these drivers are so far back. I mean, Barrett Rolfe has just been on cruise control, and like we've seen from Liam Quinn, you can still run just as quick as everyone else out here on the field by yourself, which is incredible to say and think.
Yeah, and he had fresher tires than all these other drivers, and you really want to see like what fresh tires would do to you. That's what they did. They got him a much bigger lead than he had when he came down onto pit road. It was somewhere around 1.5 seconds, 2 seconds when he came down pit road. Now it's opened up to 5.6 seconds, and almost an entire straightaway between them and the second place running car, which is Gonzalez. Almost a full set of turns. Is now Gonzalez just now entering turn 3 and Rolfe just now exiting turn 4. So a substantial lead that's been made up. It's during the cycle, but Gonzalez, Brophy, and Thompson are still right next to each other. Here comes Brophy to the inside, trying to make a pass on on Gonzalez. That's going to be a battle for the second place position. It looks like Brophy's going to get it.
Here's the thing, Brophy is on much fresher tires than what Gonzalez was on, as well as he's on about 4 laps fresher than what Rolfe's on. So this 88 machine with the fresher tires is going to try to gain as much time as possible and might be able to run down the 33. As we've already seen, he easily was able to get by there Riley Thompson and Gonzalez, but Gonzalez fighting back, utilizing that toe. And the toe is something that's going to keep these drivers still close to one another, even though there's a slight difference on tires. We really got to keep our eyes out once we're 15 laps on these tires. So in about another 15 laps or so, that's when we'll be starting to see these drivers really see what the difference is on having fresher tires compared to non-fresh tires.
I'm looking at the gaps. It stayed pretty much the same between these drivers compared to Rolfe. There's still about a 5.3 second gap now. So they are closing ever so slightly. These drivers running together generate more speed down the front stretches. Rolfe hits about 220 before he has to back off going into the turn. These drivers battling are hitting almost 230. So they definitely have the speed down the front straight. So the gap is closing very slowly, but it is closing, even though these guys are in a battle right now. So there's about 4 cars in this gap between Rolf and second on through fifth, and that'd be Brophy, Gonzalez, Thompson, and Daly. And then there's quite a bit of a gap when you go back from Daly to Bomberspach, who's leading a little charge with himself, and Will Roberts. Those two kind of running by themselves, along with Chad Simpson, who is in the wake, trying to catch up to them. Tessum comes out ninth, actually in a battle between herself and Cohen Evans. Cohen going to the bottom, and they're reeling in DeCiro, who is now trying to catch up to them. As even further back still, you've got a bit of a 5-car breakaway between Alacio and Quinn, who has made his way up to, I believe that would be the 13th position that he's running in now, and he's got Brent Jones right behind him. Mike Hurley, who led a lap for a little bit, is in this group as well. Back to Dakota DiCienzo. Then you have Evan Adams. I read that backwards. Don't mind my dyslexia. Rodrigo Munoz, who's one of the first to pit, actually finds himself pretty far back as he's now running the 18th position with Doug South.
That was something I was going to bring up, is that Munoz, South, and Danny Roberts all had to come into the pits, and they had extremely long stops. Danny Roberts just now getting out there in the 41 machine. He is 4 laps down, while
41 slow.
South, yeah, he just got out of the pit road. That's why he's going to be slow. Oh, he's off course, actually. Pulled it off.
He's pulled it off. Something's wrong with the 41, and he's disconnected.
Teleporting back. There is something mechanically issued problems with that machine, but 5 laps down now is the 41 machine. The 8 and the 09, both 1 lap down, as they're trying to figure out where they're going to be staying at the moment. As we go back for the battle for second place, where you got Brophy and Gonzalez still battling with one another to figure out where they're going to be standing. They've now dwindled that lead to only 5 seconds, but they've been battling and hard charging here for a bit now, Anthony. I mean, they've been doing this for over 10 laps now, and they've only cut it down by a half a second. I don't think that there's enough time with them battling how they are, even with fresher tires and the draft, to catch up to the 33 by the end of this race.
Certainly not with the stops that they still have to do, and you factor in the remainder of the stops that you have to go through, and also the tire wear is going to be a little bit more than if you were running by yourself, as these drivers are going to be battling, using up their tires, as Gonzalez has another whale of a run going in against Brophy. And so when you use up your tires battling side by side, you're not going to have overall speed if you do manage to break away and go for a single car run. It's only down to 5 seconds. We've seen that fluctuate between 5.5 and 5. It's actually back up to about 5.1 now, depending on who's in front of whom at the time given. So by the time they get to the next stop, Barrett Rolfe is in control of this race. If he can just have this race go green to the end, if he can get on pit road and off pit road without any issues, and if his pit stops can be fast, he's got to have picture-perfect stops if he wants to have this big lead going into the rest of the race. And, they can even afford to lose maybe a quarter or a half a second and still keep a pretty big lead compared to these other drivers as they continue to battle. We say that, we look up now, it's actually down to 4.7, so they had actually lost some time, but now they've made it back up. You maybe get the feeling that Rolfe is slowing down intentionally, knowing that there's no way that they can catch him before the next cycle, maybe trying to save some of his stuff for the end of the race, keep his tires fresh, so if he has to battle, then he can do it. As I look down, the 10 is on pit road, the 0 back on pit road.
Yeah, an issue popped up for the 10. I just noticed that as well, and I was wondering what possibly could have gone wrong. Looks like there's not a lot of wing damage, but since we are green and not a lot has been going on so far, we're going to do a quick replay to figure out what happened to the 10 machine here, as he went off course out of 4, and this is what the issue is. This is our replay here, seeing what happened to the 10. He bounced off of out of 4, got on the transition, and he just went grass. He just went lawn mowing there, cutting the grass a bit, and that's why we see the 10. Ooh, he will stay off the wall, but had to tow himself to pit road, and now having issues on pit road is the 10 machine.
Trying to get any damage that might have been sustained through there fixed. These cars aren't designed to go through the grass, and any little bit of bump they get through there might knock something loose. So better to be safe than sorry at these kind of speeds. You don't want to have something snap loose on you in the middle of going 3 wide, 220 miles an hour. Not exactly the funnest thing to do in the world. And
no, it doesn't sound that fun. As we have just hit 100 laps to go, we're going to take a quick FRN side-by-side. You're watching this battle. It's going on for second place, but we'll be back in just a few.
Since the VFW was founded, their mission was really to look out for the veterans community, to make sure that our nation upholds its promise to really care for the service member, the veteran, and his or her family. There are several ways that the VFW fights for veterans today. The top services include disability claims assistance, advocacy on Capitol Hill and with the Department of Veterans Affairs. We also offer scholarship opportunities, and then also volunteerism. For me personally, when I came back from Iraq, my life experience was drastically different from those around me, and the veterans of foreign wars really spoke to me. The reason I would encourage veterans who have served overseas today to join the VFW is because this is your organization. The VFW is for veterans. Every generation, a new generation of leaders steps up in the veterans of foreign wars and fights for the veterans community.
The Veterans of Foreign Wars. No one does more for veterans. For more information on the VFW, go to ahctv.com/sacrifice.
Most everyone involved in sim racing always wants that edge or even make the experience a little bit better, or in this case, a little bit more in-depth. Enter iRacing iFlag. iFlag is a simulation signal box with software designed by Peter Vostro. When you are behind the wheel in iRacing, your eyes are looking down the track or maybe even in the rear or side view mirrors. You may not notice or even hear when the caution comes out, when your car is damaged, or if you get black flagged, or even notice the car beside you. Yes, iFlag will point out the sides and tell you where that car is. It just makes iRacing more real and can help you become a better driver. We also offer iRacing iFlag Digital Pit Box. This small box is a great addition to any sim rig. With only 3.5 inches wide, it gives you all the information you need, including how many laps completed, how much fuel you will need to finish, what lap you need to pit on, laps till your fuel is empty, as well as weather and track conditions. It also switches when you come down pit road for more information, including what lap you're pitting under, tire wear, laps on tires, fuel average, and much, much more. To see more info, check us out today at iracingiflag.com.
And thank you to all of our sponsors. You're watching the Fuel R/RaceTrackDesigns IndyCar series here at Auto Club. This is round 11 of 14. We're getting inching closer and closer to the end of the season here. My name is Sam Dyer. With me is Anthony McCreary. And Anthony, you know, that we were talking about this during the break. This has been a very different race than what we were kind of expecting to see, as a battle now behind where Riley Thompson's now under fire by Daly.
Yeah, this has been a little bit different. We were expecting these cars to kind of be close together, very draft dependent, and we're seeing a bit of a different race. We're seeing more or less an Indy 500 style race where they've got a lot of their aero package kind of to themselves, and they're able to run by themselves and not be too dependent on it as the race goes on. And, you know, I gotta say, I'm kind of a fan of it, to be honest. Like, it's fun to watch these guys. It's them versus the racetrack versus the other drivers on track, so they're not so dependent on how close am I to another guy, or how is he doing? Can I leapfrog off of him? You're not so dependent on the guy in front in order for you to have a good finish. It really comes down to, number one, driver skill. Number two comes down to setup. If your setup's not as good as somebody else's, you're going to feel it when you get out on the racetrack. And we're seeing who's got the best and who's the rest. As right now, Barrett Rolfe has got still about a 4-second lead. It's dwindled down ever so slightly. He is running with a lap down machine in the 8 of Doug South, who is, like I said, a lap down, actually 2 laps down to the leader at this point in time. Munoz has gone a lap down, and everyone else is running on the lead lap. He's got a couple of guys that have retired from this race. Joseph DeCiro has decided to park it, done for the night. Also, Danny Roberts has also parked it, done for the night as well. We know what happened to Roberts. We're not quite sure why DeCiro.
Oh, no, we saw DeCiro's. It was Roberts that we really were confused about. I mean, we saw him come back from pit road and then just duck to the inside. DeCiro got loose after hitting the wall out of 4, and then decided to be our lawnmower for the day. Did a fantastic job at it, and decided his day was done. And now looking out here, I mean, we're watching this battle. This is 2nd through 5th right now, where you got Brophy, Gonzalez, Daly, Thompson all collected to one another, and then you go back another 4.5 seconds from them. That's when you see what would be our third pack, where you got Will Roberts and Chad Simpson duking it back and forth here. As they're the more that they battle back and forth, the more they're starting to bring in Kai Bommersbach now in the 37 behind them. But these two have been Chad Simpson and Will Roberts they have been wild to see because they have just been slicing and dicing. I mean, I thought that we were seeing Brophy and Gonzalez slicing and dicing a lot, but these two have been even closer and more intense battling, and this is only for a battle for sixth place.
Oh yeah, this is not going to go away for a long time. These drivers are really close together in terms of setup and skill base, and I have a feeling they're going to be swapping this sixth position quite a bit. It looks like he's going to get a little bit of a run down in the front stretch. Oh, there's a little bit of a bobble from Simpson. Almost got a little bit of piece of the wall, but now it's going to open the door again for Roberts to the inside. And again, these two continue to swap out the sixth place position. And yeah, Bombersbach is about ready to make this a three-car fight, like you said. He's inching his way closer, and I don't know if he particularly wants to be in the middle of this battle, as these guys have been kind of scrapping it up a bit. It's a nice and wide track, but definitely don't want to be there in case something does break loose. But so far, this battle has been really fun to watch as Simpson goes to the inside again from Thompson, and not Thompson, from Roberts, and we'll take the position back.
Yeah, and honestly, we're going to see these certain positions swapping back and forth for most of this race, as we've already had our first pit stop of the day. We've been green for all 67 laps. And Anthony, we're coming up closer to that position again, where these drivers are going to have to think about pitting. But some of these drivers pitted a lot differently than the other times, and due to the fact that everyone's so spread out, your fuel run might be completely different from that first stint that you had. So it's going to be really interesting to see when drivers are going to be coming to the pits. We know that Barrett Rolfe, the furthest he could possibly go is probably lap 38, just based on the fact that he's been leading and really hasn't had a lot of time to save fuel, even with the lap cars that he's around. Well, I'm nervous to see where other drivers are going to be fuel-wise, just because of how much we've been seeing them duking it back and forth.
We're probably going to see a lot of those drivers that came down early pit again, say like Liam Quinn, who came down and pitted around lap 35, 36. Probably be seeing him on pit road in the next couple of laps as we're getting close to that window opening once again for these drivers. Some of these drivers that were able to stretch it all the way to lap 42, that being drivers of the like of Mike Hurley, which I think went the longest out of all of us. All of them, I should say, is they went about 43 laps, I think, was as far as he was able to stretch it, which is well beyond what you're supposed to be able to do. But you did some super saving.
It was the start of lap 43 that he got to. So,
picking up, here comes 59.
59 machine coming in. That's going to be Riley Thompson. The 59 is Evan Adams. Coming in. So those drivers were close to one another on our telemetry. Evan Adams is first car in the pits here, and it's kind of early, but still a chance here. These drivers were expected to do 3 pit stops, and at least, it's going to be a close finish to the end here. Of have you set your strategy up to where you're going to have enough fuel at the end?
So someone who's put themselves in a position to have the best luck would be the 32 of Hurley. He's been in
there for a long time.
Yeah, being that he's...
Evan Adams is still in the pits. He's been in there, and he finally takes off. Looks like he possibly could have gotten a speeding penalty coming into the pits due to the fact that he was in for so long.
And he did kind of smoke it going in. He took an interesting line going into pit road and might not have gotten slowed down enough time, but a 21.3 second stop. Not a great stop, considering that a good one is somewhere between 6 and 7, and now he's going to come back on the racetrack. As here comes, speaking of the guy we were talking about earlier, it's Liam Quinn, who is going to be going around him to put him a lap down. To Liam Quinn, I should say. He's actually worked his way up to 11th, so give credit where his credit's due. We hadn't noted this, but he's been on a tear. He's gotten into some of the draft, he's been able to make some moves, and now he's up into the 11th position, running down the top 10. He's got a bit of a ways to go before he can get up there, as Tesson would be the next car that is for position, and there's almost a straightaway between the two of them. If he can get a good stop, he might be able to reel in a little bit. What he really needs is a yellow flag. That's what he's been praying for all race long.
Coming into the pits, Liam Quinn started on pit road while the rest of the field started on track, so he was already at a huge disadvantage. Before the pit stops, he was about 16 seconds back from our leader, now about 23 seconds back, but still a great day for the 4, who started back in 20th position, now up to 11th, has the potential, if he can run down Tessum and Cohen Evans here, has a chance for a top 10 finish, at least for this race, which would be a fantastic run. As one of our top 10 cars coming in, it's going to be Eric Gonzalez, who was one of the first cars to come to the pits with our first group on that first pit stop. So not surprised to be the first car. Everyone else, though, is going to start dwindling in here in the next probably 5 laps or so.
Yeah, and after that, it's kind of runs downhill for the rest of the stops. It looks like we're seeing back there the 43 is going to come in as well. So that's DiCienzo. He was one of those drivers that came down early out of all these drivers. And the fuel window is well more than open, as from here to about lap, I say 84 is the window this time by. So we should see a trickle of cars coming down lap after lap. As looks like the 4 is going to be one of those coming down next, as Quinn's decided to bring it down pit road. Ooh, slides a little bit trying to get it slowed down, but everything worked out for that 4 car. He's on pit road, and here comes the 33 coming down. That's our leader, Barrett Rolfe.
Barrett Rolfe coming into the pits as the 33 machine has just been on a tear. And him pitting early worked out great for him last time. He went from having about a 2 to 2.5 second lead to almost a 5.5 second lead. And now coming to the pits this time, he had over a 4 second lead. So a net gain of 2 seconds. We'll see how much more time this 33 machine can gain here pitting early compared to the rest of the top 5.
Have to see is it looks like the Quinn had an extended stop on pit road, about a 10-second stop, so not a fantastic stop compared to, well, I mean, Barrett Rolfe had a 9.3.
Yeah, no, 10 seconds isn't too bad. It's when you go past like 12 seconds when you're kind of nervous on was there a penalty or not for these drivers, or even slight damage from making any type of contact with another driver or not. As we're waiting for more drivers to come to the pits, we're going to be watching this battle here for now what's 4th place, as Bommersbach has finally caught up to this pack of Will Roberts and Chad Simpson.
Yeah, he wants that position badly, and he knows that with the cycle coming through and these guys on similar strategies that he could potentially leapfrog these guys on pit road. Is now it looks like he's kind of trying to stick with them. They're not coming down pit road yet. Again, the window just opened a couple laps ago, so some of these drivers are going to wait for a while before they come down. Brophy is your leader on aggregate. He, by way of having a later pit cycle than I believe Barrett Rolfe is, who is the leader. And it says Barrett Rolfe is actually running in the 12th place position at the moment. So right now he doesn't want a yellow to come out because he's a lap down.
Yeah, he's a lap down, first car a lap down. You do not want to see a caution come out now. And that's the one thing that's kind of difficult, is being the first car to really pit from the front, is that you could be losing time, as Will Roberts now pulls it in.
Yeah, Roberts decided it's time to come in. He's actually bringing a couple cars behind him, that being the 17 and the 70. So Evans and Tessum electing to pit this lap. And they make the slow crawl down pit road. It's really not that slow. It's 60 miles an hour, the pit road speed limit. But considering that you're running out there doing 220 miles an hour consistently, it feels like a crawl.
And Tessum once again overshot her pit stall. So something to work on for the next and possibly the last pit stop of the day. As now into the pits is going to be Brophy as well as Riley Thompson into the pits. We should be seeing the rest of the field possibly coming in here in the next lap or two. And then we'll be seeing our second to last pit stop of the day being finished for these drivers with 75 laps to go. It's looking close for some of these guys if they can make it to the end with one more stop.
It's going to be close for Barrett Rolfe for sure. That much is true, as Rolfe is going to be right on the edge of being able to make it on.
Gonzalez, yeah, they're both going to be close.
Yeah, both of those drivers are going to be extremely close. They could make it on. Looking at the numbers, though, Barrett Rolfe came down 2-3 laps to go, meaning that was about lap 77 when he came down pit road. We'll call it 77 when he came down pit road. That means that he can go at most 42 laps if he saves a lot of fuel. So we'll call it right down the middle. We'll call it 40 laps, maybe 38 is about all he can get. But he's got some cars he could draft with at the moment, so maybe save a little bit of fuel as the 37 comes down pit road. But so let's assume that he can make it that far. We're looking at a gap. We're looking at one more stop going about 40 laps from 77. So that's about lap 107. It's going to be... He can't do it. He can't do it on one more stop.
If he finds a lap car, maybe
Ooh.
stays in their wake here, maybe.
There was a car that almost spun going down to pit road. I couldn't quite tell who that was, but it was right in front of Byron Daly, who was the leader going on pit road, is now going to concede the lead back over to Mike Hurley, which we think might have a shot to make it. It'll be really, really close, and he's going to have to do a lot of saving if he's willing to do it. But let's assume in this scenario that he can make it all the way to the end of the race. He's on about a 40-lap stint at the moment. He has got about an entire lap lead. Well, he had an entire lap lead over Barrett Rolfe at one point. Now it's about the relatives kind of trying to catch up. It's the interval is about 9 seconds. So if he can somehow stretch it all the way to the end of the race, he's coming down on lap 83. He'd still have to come down.
Yeah,
one more time.
there's no way. Everyone else still needs to pit one more time. Drivers that we're going to keep our eyes out, though, they'll have to try to stretch it on this next pit stop as far as they can go. It's going to be Evan Adams as well as Eric Gonzalez. They're both going to be close on really fuel, because every single time that they have came in, it's been before lap 38, as Hurley going to be overshooting his pit stall and now giving the lead back to Barrett Rolfe. And Rolfe's in a very prime spot that he wants to be in. He's behind a driver, and he can try to save fuel.
And he's got a 7.2 second lead over Jason Brophy at the moment. And as you said, perfect situation. Can lay back a little bit, save some fuel, extend his run. Still would have to pit a fourth time, but would able to get a lot less fuel than he would under any other circumstance. And I think he'd be comfortable to run in these drivers as he's opening up the gap as well. It's opening up to about a 7.7 second gap at the moment. He's actually trying to go around these lap drivers.
Yeah,
thinking that they're holding them up.
There's two options, right? You could stay behind the lap traffic because you got a big enough lead. I mean, you got over 7.5 seconds. It's grown even more than where it was when he came into the pits. One thing you got to be aware of is if you're staying around lap traffic, there's always the potential of them, if they make a mistake, it could cost your race. So Barrett Rolfe deciding it's better off if I just continue to run quick, and if I need to back down on my pace here or there, I'll do that to try to save fuel instead of trying to stay in the draft.
Yeah, and that if you got to pit one more time, might as well. So I think this is the right call to make at this stage in the race for Barrett Rolfe. And as we go through the next cycle of stops, won't be until lap 105, I believe, is when we'll see the cycle open for a lot of these drivers again. So a little bit of ways to go before we get there. The race goes as follows. Rolfe, your leader, Brophy and Daly now running in third place. That makes up the top three as the battle for second is still on, but with different faces. Byron Daly has replaced Eric Gonzalez, who is falling back to fifth, Thompson fourth, and Gonzalez is battling with Chad Simpson and soon Bomberspach for what is the fifth place position. And now you look back and you have Roberts, Evans, and Quinn, who has made his way up to the top 10. So Liam Quinn making up a couple of spots on that round of stops. And, you know, Sam, we're watching this race going on now. This is going to be kind of the only place we'll be able to watch these races for the next foreseeable future, as you know, it's made big news this year that this speedway is actually going away. It's changing into a half-mile racetrack rather than a 2-mile speedway. So this medium is about the only chance that we're going to get to see this racing come 2022, and it's honestly, I'm going to miss it.
Yeah, I mean, Auto Club has just brought out some of the wildest finishes for stock car wise and any other type of racing surface, racing styles. It's just been a blast to watch how wide this track is. It gives you so many opportunities to make passes in different ways you can turn around this course, and really impressed by everyone that's running right now and where they're at as we're continuing to watch this battle here. We're actually going to move up as they're making a pass here. Chad Simpson on the inside gets that pass down to Eric Gonzalez. We move up to Brophy and Daly, as Daly has been the driver that has just been kind of a dark horse in a way. Not really showing off too much early on, but if you look at his lap times and the laps he's been putting down all race long, Daly and Brophy both have been one of the fastest cars out here. And here comes also Riley Thompson trying to join the fray for this battle for second place. Only issue is your leader is 7.2 seconds ahead of you as you're trying to battle back and forth.
Yeah, wholesale, though, these drivers running in second and third are faster than Barrett Rolfe. I think there's no denying that, given the fact that even though they're battling, they've made up that much time after the cycle stops. There's almost 8 seconds a couple of laps ago. That being said, though, the way that the cycle of stops are, I don't think there's going to be enough time to make up that much ground before you have to come down and stop again. And we're seeing that a lot of these drivers, they'll get that big lead. Well, Barrett Rolfe specifically, they'll get that lead, and then they'll just kind of sit on it, hoping that they don't catch up. As we're looking at it now, it's actually down to 6.8 seconds as we look at the relatives. So, again, I don't think there's enough time within the fuel window to make up that amount of ground. But at the same time, if it comes down to a final pit stop, a final dash for fuel, who does that benefit? Does that benefit someone like Barrett Rolfe, who will have to pit earlier by default and have a clean pit entry, or will it benefit somebody who's running speed, knowing that they have to pit regardless, and is able to run at full speed even though they're battling and catch up?
I mean, at the moment, based on what we're seeing right now, I mean, we're seeing some very quick times being placed by Rolfe and Daly, who are running side by side, and I think Barrett Rolfe's going with the strategy of backing it down. As it once was 7.2 seconds about 2 laps ago, it is now dwindled down to 6.5 seconds. So that lead, it is going away pretty quick here, about 2 to 3 tenths each lap, which makes me think Rolfe is slowing down, but still keep your eyes out for that 88 and 60, as they could be gaining a lot of time here on this final pit stop possibly. But Rolfe's just been the quickest on entry and exit. That is where he's gaining all of his time for this 33 machine. And it's amazing to see, because every single time he's coming to the pits, he's gained about 2 to 3 seconds.
He has done that, which is shocking. He's been able to get on the pit entry, like you said. He's been able to get on the pit entry a lot easier than a lot of these other drivers. His stops haven't been particularly quicker than a lot of these other drivers. The last stop was a 9.3, and Jason Brophy's was a 9.7. So there is a lot of time that was made up there, but certainly not 3 seconds worth of time that was made up there. So it really does come down to entry.
It's one of those things where entry and exit, I mean, if you can get a clean exit off, then you're good. If you can come in quicker than what everyone else is on entry, you can gain a lot of time. And also, not using up your tires as much as the rest of the field is another way that you're able to save your tires and make the moves. As we're starting to see our battle for second place dwindle away, we're now going to drop back for this battle here that's going on for 5th place. Chad Simpson, Eric Gonzalez, who was looking like a front runner, a driver that possibly could have been going for a win early in the first 20 laps of this race, just has dropped off. I don't know what happened to his machine from the start of the green to now, but it has not looked the same since about lap 20, 25.
Well, he had a really slow stop. He had about a 10.8 second stop that last time around, which certainly didn't help. So I think it was just the pit entry, the overall stop, and the pit exit. As we look at the overall pit time, that being 39.8 seconds was the overall time for Chad Simpson. And then you look back to Eric Gonzalez, which his overall time was 40.6. So, almost full 41 seconds on pit road, compared to the leader, who only spent 38.9 seconds. Brophy, who only spent 39.1, Daly with 39.0. This is overall pit time. This isn't just the stop. So, when you look at those numbers, it's no surprise that he would be running a little far back. I don't think that running this far back was what we expected.
No, not at all. And continuing to see him challenge here, Chad Simpson, back and forth they go. And it's really what we're seeing here is when they're side by side through the corner, you're losing time. If you can cleanly make these passes on the straightaway of slingshotting your car past and just keep on pulling the car with you and utilizing the momentum, that way you're able to move forward with your partner that you're slingshotting with. It's that time that you scrub off staying side by side through the corner like we're seeing here. That's what can hurt both drivers in the long run. Right now, we only have 11 drivers left on the lead lap. Cone Evans is going to be the last car there in the 17. First car 1 lap down is going to be Christian Alacio. And Anthony, it's been a wild ride. We're coming up to 100 laps being ran. And in about 10 laps, we're going to be seeing pit stops underway. But we're going to be having it quick in our final side-by-side here for commercials and we will be right back to all the action.
Since the VFW was founded, their mission was really to look out for the veterans community, to make sure that our nation upholds its promise to really care for the service member, the veteran, and his or her family. There are several ways that the VFW fights for veterans today. The top services include disability claims assistance, advocacy on Capitol Hill and with the Department of Veterans Affairs. We also offer scholarship opportunities, and then also volunteerism. For me personally, when I came back from Iraq, my life experience was drastically different from those around me, and the veterans of foreign wars really spoke to me. The reason I would encourage veterans who have served overseas today to join the VFW is because this is your organization. The VFW is for veterans. Every generation, a new generation of leaders steps up in the veterans of foreign wars and fights for the veterans community.
The Veterans of Foreign Wars. No one does more for veterans. For more information on the VFW, go to ahctv.com/sacrifice.
Most everyone involved in sim racing always wants that edge or even make the experience a little bit better, or in this case, a little bit more in-depth. Enter iRacing iFlag. iFlag is a simulation signal box with software designed by Peter Vostro. When you are behind the wheel in iRacing, your eyes are looking down the track or maybe even in the rear or side view mirrors. You may not notice or even hear when the caution comes out, when your car is damaged, or if you get black flagged, or even notice the car beside you. Yes, iFlag will point out the sides and tell you where that car is. It just makes iRacing more real and can help you become a better driver. We also offer iRacing iFlag Digital Pit Box. This small box is a great addition to any sim rig. With only 3.5 inches wide, it gives you all the information you need, including how many laps completed, how much fuel you will need to finish, what lap you need to pit on, laps till your fuel is empty, as well as weather and track conditions. It also switches when you come down pit road for more information, including what lap you're pitting under, tire wear, laps on tires, fuel average, and much, much more. To see more info, check us out today at iracingiflag.com.
Welcome back to the Fuel R/RaceTrackDesigns IndyCar series, as we're here at Auto Club, and this is the fourth to last race of the season. We're inching closer and closer to the end of this thing. Right now, Riley Thompson's been leading in points for most of the season so far, running fourth behind Daly, and you see those four cars there. Second in line, that's going to be Mike Hurley that is in between these drivers. He is one lap down, running in 13th place, as Barrett Rolfe is leading that charge. But Anthony, we're about 8 laps away from seeing Barrett Rolfe be coming into the pits here. And every single time he's come in, he's been able to gain about 3 to 2 seconds every time. At the moment, our group that's behind him in second place and back, they've been able to cut down this lead by about 3 seconds now. But that's all the time that we saw Rolfe gain from pit stops. Do you think that they have any chance here coming to this final pit stop, the final run, to see who's going to make it to the end of this race? Do they have any time to really catch up to them?
Perhaps. And it all depends on how the pit road goes. We've seen Rolfe have considerably faster stops overall than the rest of the field. That being said, though, that they have made up that run, and we do know that this is going to not be their last stop. They're going to have at least one more to go after this one. It'll be a splash and dash, if anything else. And that depends, too. Are we going to see in that last stop, are they going to take tires? Are they just going to take fuel? Or are they going to take, what are they going to do on that last stop? This does play into Rolfe's hands, though, as he's pretty much the commander of his own destiny in this race. He's been able to pretty much set the tone for how he wants it to go through. And, I'm not sure if they're gaining on him because they have a faster car or if they're gaining on him because he is letting them gain on him. He might be in fuel-saving mode. We've seen his lap times be considerably slower than earlier in the race, and they're running about 2 tenths slower than second and third place. So is that because he's slowing down, or is that because he's actually on purpose slowing down to try and save a little bit more fuel, as he's been the first one on and off pit road a lot lately?
Yeah, I mean, we're gonna have to keep our eye out and see when they decide to come into the pits. Probably here in the next 5 to 6 laps. That's when we're gonna see Barrett Rolfe come in, as he's around lap traffic of Vallejo and Munoz. But like you were saying with the 33, I'm pretty sure he's losing this time just because of him coming in about 4 laps sooner than the rest of the field. So tire wear being an issue, and also I think he might be in a little bit of fuel conservation mode, trying to save as much fuel as possible, because he's going to have to pit here and he needs to push it. I mean, the longest we've seen any driver go was 42 laps, and that was on the first pit stop. I mean, 43 laps, excuse me. And that's another 2 laps. But that was when Mike Hurley was in the middle of the field in saving mode and was able to stay in the draft. Barrett Rolfe's been leading this group of lap machines. He hasn't been in saving mode, so I'm a little concerned that he might not have saved enough here, as he is possibly going to have to pit in the next 4 laps, which is going to put him at lap 40. He's going to be close to making it to the end.
Don't look now, but that gap is now down to a second.
Yeah.
When did that happen?
It just happened when he was getting passed by lap machines. Barrett Rolfe is pushing his car as far as he can go, and probably in save mode, losing that last lap almost 9/10 off what we're seeing this group is. What once was about 4 seconds is now gone to nothing. It is less than a second now, as here comes Jason Brophy coming into Barrett Rolfe's back bumper.
Definitely in fuel saving mode, as you said, and now it's going to get really intense for the battle for the lead, as this is the first time that we've seen these drivers anywhere close to Barrett Rolfe for the last 2 cycles of stops. Is there's no question about it. He's slow on purpose. When will he pit, though? He's been able to stretch it farther than we thought he would be able to. This might be able to turn into a situation where you can go the rest of the way. It's going to be awful close. If he can get to lap, say, 114, there might be a shot to make it to the end of the races. A lot of these drivers, they've gone a lot further than I thought they were going to go.
114 is the marker that all these drivers are trying to strive for. Eric Gonzalez is going to be coming to the pits now in that 42 machine, just pulling out, and I think that might have been just 1 to 2 laps too soon. Don't know if he's going to make it. Liam Quinn just came in the 4, so I'm shocked to see some of these drivers that are coming in this early, but they possibly ran out of fuel because they didn't have any draft partners or any way to save fuel.
No kidding, and with the fact that Barrett Rolfe has had someone to draft with, even though they're lapped cars, he's been able to save some fuel. I think that's what he was doing for the entire run, was save as much as you can, don't lose the lead, and then he was forced into a situation where, okay, this couldn't make or break the race. You either save as much as you can before the stop, get to lap 114, which he's done so. Yep. So he can make it to the end of the race at this point in time. Do you think he adds a buffer? No, he doesn't. 114, the end of 114, he comes down pit road. He can make it to the end, although I'm not sure how much he can battle if he wants to make it to the end.
We're going to see Barrett Rolfe here on this pit stop if he slides at all. Coming to the end here, Barrett Rolfe actually started running about 2/10 faster than what everyone else was doing. So confirming our thoughts of him being in save mode that whole entire time. He finally got to the marker that he needed to, but he pitted on lap 38, Anthony. I think he needed to go one more.
One more if you wanted a shot to be able to battle with another driver, because you can make it to lap 40 if you're in a group of cars and you're running around. If you're trying to battle somebody, then you're not trying to save fuel in the slightest. He had another great stop. He's out and down and away. He's the only one that's opted to pit this far in the race. Everyone else can make it, though. So, it really does come down to how big of a lead can Barrett Rolfe accumulate, and will that be enough to get to the end of the race? We'll have to find out. If he can go into fuel-saving mode with about a 5-second lead, then I think it's all Rolfe.
As coming in, I mean, look, last time it was this close and Rolfe came in, he was able to pull away by about 2 to 3 seconds, like we've been stating. We'll see if he's able to gain that much here pitting at this time. Liam Quinn, as well as Eric Gonzalez, still around the same buffer of, I don't know if they can make it, as Brophy is leading now at the moment, Daly behind him, as well as Riley Thompson. They were all able to get by Mike Hurley there after staying behind him for a bit. All these drivers are now inside the window that they can make it to the end. Even if a caution comes out, they're good. And that's why we're starting to see Brophy heading to the pits. But Daly and Riley Thompson stay out.
So Daly and Thompson feel like they want a little bit more fuel in order to play with if they want to make it to the end. Also, I don't know if they'll be able to do this and make it work, but they can take less fuel at this point in time in the race, and having a lighter car on fresh tires might give them a little bit of straight line speed advantage, especially give them some advantage in the turns as their car won't be so weighted down. They'll be able to use the fresh tires to their advantage. Don't know if they would run that risk, being that they're going to be battling pretty much to the end of the race. Brophy has it back in, so that's going to hurt his time, overall time. That might lose him a spot or two when they get back on the racetrack. Car's down, fuel is out, he's down and away. That was not as bad of a stop that you could have had happen. Still, not a very fast one.
And now he's going to be the marker. Where is Rolf? Where is Brophy? And they'll be giving us the kind of a soft roundabout of how much time, if any time, did Barrett Rolf gain on the rest of the field.
Well, Barrett Rolf has got a pretty big lead over Brophy at the moment, and it looks like the interval is going to be about 3 seconds. So, has extended his lead.
Coming into the pits is going to be Riley Thompson, as well as Cohen Evans, Chad Simpson. They're all coming in. We're going to stay on board with Riley Thompson, who is part of that front group, and we'll see how much time he'll be gaining or losing here, as drivers are going to be coming in to the pits. And you know, I like that Daly has been one of those drivers that has been staying out as long as possible. He's going to have, like you said, doesn't have to be in the pits as long as these other drivers have been. He just needs to fill up to a certain point, and he'll be good to the end. But he's got to be calculating the numbers. His crew chief's telling him everything he needs to know, how much fuel he really needs to pack in, and getting ready for this pit stop, because Daly could possibly, if he has a fast enough pit stop, could be right on the back gearbox of Barrett Rolf, and Rolf could have been, him trying to save fuel could have cost him here.
I'll tell you who had a fast stop, and that was Riley Thompson. Had a fantastic stop, a 9.1 second stop, almost a full second better than Barrett Rolf, and because of that, the gap only 1.6 seconds as Thompson gets back up to speed, well within distance to try and make up this run in the late stages of the races. We're coming down to crunch time for a lot of these drivers. They do not want to have this race go to yellow flag for some of these front runners, as it's going to eliminate all the lead that Rolf has accumulated. Thompson certainly doesn't want to have a yellow flag. So, you know, if we go green to the end, it's going to come down to maybe Rolf, Thompson, Brophy, and perhaps if Daly can get a fast stop, as he hasn't come down yet. As he comes down now, he's coming down now. So if Daly can get a fast stop and get out, then we can see a potential 4-car fight for the finish.
Mike Hurley going to be one of the cars staying out for now. Expected to come in the pits and finally make his pit stop, but he might be gifted the lead here for another lap or so as we're watching Daly into the pits. This is a key driver to see where and how good this pit is going to be. As we're looking, will it be 9 seconds? Or less. If it's less than 9 seconds, we might be seeing Daly right on the back bumper. That's a good stop that he got.
He is down and away. Barrett Rolf just now entered the front stretch, about halfway down, and it looks like that Daly's back on track. Rolf is going to pass them, but without a huge lead, I think. I don't know. Daly's coming out of the pits. It is going to be a 3-car fight, as now here comes Barrett Rolf back onto the racing surface, and it's going to be a close battle for all these drivers now, as here comes Thompson to the lead. The first lead change in a long time for the race, and now it's going to go to Riley Thompson.
First lead change, and it took over 100 laps to get there. It's Riley Thompson, leader of the points right now, trying to rebound after a last couple of weeks that really haven't been going his way. Now trying to really get a solid finish for this 56 machine, really conquer the points that he has, and really coming to the end of the season, needs to start hitting his mark, but don't look now. Daly with the fresher tires, looking quick, and now Barrett Rolf is in a huge disadvantage going up against the drivers that have way fresher tires.
No kidding, and you know, he tried to extend that fuel as far as he could, so he could be in the position where he's at, where he wouldn't have to make a stop, and that might have hurt him. He had to spend a lot of time saving fuel, so it's put him at a disadvantage in the fact that he won't have a huge lead anymore, and the tires is also a thing that he has to worry about. But these drivers, as you mentioned, Fresher tires, looking to use that speed. Daly to the inside, trying to make a move for second place. He's going to go into turn 3. Easily takes the second place position. Almost thought about going for the lead, but thought better of it. New second place, Byron Daly.
If I'm Daly, I'm pushing as hard as I want. Get up front, take that lead, and if you can, try to pull away from the rest of this field. Brophy has now caught up. Here comes Daly on the outside, trying to make the pass here on Riley Thompson. If you're Barrett Rolfe, though, your goal right now, stay in line with the draft. Save as much fuel as you can so you know for those final 15 laps that you're close enough, you can finally make a move. That's why he's not being very defensive here and just letting cars passing him by, because he's trying to just go into safe mode to make sure he is good for the end, because honestly, he is close if he's going to make it or not.
Yeah, and he's going to have to monitor that throughout the rest of the race, and you know that he does not want to have to do that getting the late stages. Look now, Brophy's now in the 4th position. He's been in the 4th position, now he's on the back, and ooh, there was a big blink. That looked scary. For us as broadcasters, it looked scary. I can only imagine what Daly just felt. There was a lot of clenching of the hands on the wheel as he kind of went out of frame, but you know, there's 5 cars in shot. Only 4 of them are on the lead lap. That yellow car running in 4th place, that's Jason Brophy. Back there, you see the red car. That is actually the 09 of Muñez, who is not on the lead lap, but also a bit of a factor in this race. Could be used as a pick. Ooh, there's another blink from Thompson. So in the late stages, this is not what you want to have if you're Thompson. You don't want to have a lag situation where you could potentially take out some of these leaders who have fought so hard to get to the position they're at. And now he's kind of running away from everybody. He's on the inside line, trying to defend his position. 3 wide, looking like going for the lead. Does not look like there's a lot of speed on the outside line, but Brophy thought about it. Moved Brophy to 3rd. Here it comes to the inside of Daly. Daly's going to concede the position. Now, Brophy goes after Thompson.
Now keep your eyes out on Daly. He's going to be staying on the outside lane, but he is on the much fresher tires. Based on everything we've been seeing throughout this race, we've seen 3 different pit stops, and due to the fact, as Riley Thompson blinks again, if you've got the fresher tires, you are able to get in front of everyone else when everyone else hits about lap 15 on their tires. And we're looking right now, Jason Brophy is on 11 lap old tires, and he'll be hitting that 15 lap marker where he just starts to drop off. So keep your eyes out, as it is time to make your moves now, as Daly is on only 7 lap old tires compared to the rest of the field, freshest of this front group.
And those that fresh tire advantage will play a big key or big factor into this race, as he's going to be able to put his car pretty much wherever he wants to and not have to worry about, you know, will it stick, will it not. As again, Thompson has another moment where he lags out just a smidge, and that's going to put a lot of these drivers on edge that are trying to pass him. You don't want to be too close. What if he, you know, reappears in the middle of your car, and that's something that we don't want to have happen. That's going to be a real bummer to the guy who's receiving that, and I don't think Thompson will be a little happy about it as he blinks out again. But man, it's getting really racy up at the front of this field and getting close to the end of the race. We're on lap 31 of 54, and we have a 4-car fight for the lead of the race. Your top 4 as they run are Thompson and Brophy in a side-by-side battle for the lead. Then you have Byron Daly, who was middle of the pack, then came up to the front of the pack and hasn't gone away. Then you have Barrett Rolfe, who led the majority of this race, will get the majority of the laps led, although now running in a very interesting position, 3 wide for the lead of the race. That's Daly on the outside. Is there still 3 wide throughout the entire corner? Daly on the outside, and now here comes Brophy in the middle of it, but here comes Rolfe in the middle of it. Does he make a 4 wide? Not quite, but now there's still 3 wide.
This is the best 3 wide action we've been seeing all race long, waiting for who was going to be able to hold on that outside. Daly was the one who tried, able to make it work for about a corner and a half, and that was about as far as he could go. Goes 3 wide again here into 1 and 2. Can he get the momentum out of the corner? It just doesn't look like that third lane is any better than the inside, but due to the fact of the tire advantage, Daly might be able to make this work as he continues to just hold on the outside lane. I don't know if that's really a strong suit. He might want to think about either just dropping it as far low and try to get under Riley Thompson if he can, and try to just push up everyone up a groove or two, as now we're coming to 20 laps to go as Daly just drops up to the high side and decides he's going to be running in 4th place now.
And now Jason Brophy is still side by side. Barrett Rolfe going to the outside. Here he comes. Daly with a huge run down the front stretch. Almost thought about taking it 4 wide, but it looks like that Rolfe backed out of it at the last possible moment. was able to not have that going in turn 1. I don't think they would have survived like that if they went through turn 1. 3 wide racing again for the first place position. Thompson on the inside. Jason Brophy in the middle, and Byron Daly on the outside. Barrett Rolfe looking at this battle and going, yeah, you continue to do that. I'm going to stay back here and wait for something to happen. Is that they're still going to be 3 wide. They were single file for a moment, but they got a tow. 3 wide again into turn 1. I don't know how long this can happen before either number 1 tires start falling off, or if one of these drivers checks up, this could be devastating.
You got 2 drivers here that are looking for their 3rd win this season. Daly's looking for his 2nd. Barrett Rolfe looking for his 2nd of the season. All of these drivers have already won this season. They're looking for another one to be notched onto their belt. As right now, you know what Riley Thompson's going to do. He's going to hold that inside line. Don't give any space to any other driver. Everyone else is going to have to try to pass him on the outside lane, which is going to be so difficult to do. And now everyone getting in line, setting up for this final push.
It's getting down to crunch time. We're within 30 laps to go. We're actually coming down close to 20 laps to go. And by the time you get into that battle, it's going to matter. 10 laps to go. I looked at the thing wrong. We're within 20 laps to go, coming down to 10 laps to go. And, you know, if they're racing this hard, this late into the race, or this far out from the finish of the race, they're going to be battling just as more when they get to crunch time. As it looks like that Rolfe is kind of falling back a little bit, trying to conserve some of his tires for a final 10-lap push, as Thompson and Brophy have gotten to single file. Daly's also fallen back. I don't know if that's because his tires have fallen off or that's by choice, but now they're just continuing to battle side by side for the lead and for 3rd place.
I believe for Daly, he might be playing a possum here, but there is the possibility that him running on that outside lane might have burnt up a little bit too much of that rubber, but here he comes. Another head of steam, throwing it 3 wide once again into turn number 1, as it's 17 laps to go for these drivers. We've been waiting for the possible chance of them racing this hard. We talked about them going 3, 4, possibly 5 wide racing. They've been pretty tame here so far this race, keeping it green all race long, but if we're going to see a caution, it's going to happen up front.
Yeah, this battle for the lead has gotten intense as it looks like Brophy stepped out of line. Oh, there goes Daly to the inside.
Daly's doing it.
He's trying to find a spot, but he couldn't. He thought about going to the apron, but I don't think there's any grip down there. Not enough to sustain the lead, as you know that Thompson's going to push him to the apron all the way into turn 1. And you know when you get there, there's no banking, nothing to work with. You don't want to be in that position. So the smart move by Daly backing out of it, but now he's going to go to the inside. Inside line for Daly. Can he make a pass down? He does. He clears both of them going into turn 3.
And that was him just going to 16 laps on these tires. The move that he had to make, get below Riley Thompson and Barrett Rolfe, gets it done. And Brophy falling back, as well as Daly has to now hold on the outside. And he needed to do kind of what Thompson was doing and just stay on the inside, but I think Thompson could have been burning up his tires by staying down there, as now the 88 machine to the lead. 15 laps to go. Daly is not giving up as he goes to the inside again on the backstretch.
Daly wants to be on that inside line. These 2 drivers, the 88 and the 60, swapping spots almost as if they don't want to keep it. As now on the front stretch, we're going to see maybe Daly have a charge. Does Brophy go to the inside? No, he goes to the outside, trying to make something work into turn 1. Can he make the outside line work? We've seen the inside line be the preferred line around this racetrack, as Thompson held it for quite a long time, and now looks like that Brophy's going to try and stick with the number 60 of Daly. They are still side by side, so right now advantage nobody. But if it comes down to a last lap pass, if you want to beat somebody at the line, I'm willing to bet that the middle line might be the place to do it. You're able to carry speed, and you get a little bit of momentum coming off the turn. We'll have to see what this lap looks like. As you see, he's trying to claw his way back up. It's going to be close at the line if this is the case, but I think that you can make the middle line work on a last lap charge.
Riley Thompson looking fantastic points-wise. As we're coming to the end of this season, you've only got one more race that you can drop. But we've got 2 drivers up here, Barrett Rolfe and Brophy. Both of them, the 88 and the 33, both of them have only ran 9 races this season, which means they don't have any more drop races to give up. They need to have good, consistent runs. They need wins if they want a chance here for the championship. Brophy's been known as the driver that wins here during the ovals. Can this 88 machine get the win here and to solidify himself, as we're coming up to 2 road courses before we get to ourselves to Homestead? That's going to be the finale here. So it's all about running consistent, get the win this race, so you can set up and just have decent runs for the next 2 road courses.
And one of those road courses being Daytona, which is going to be a mix of speed, straight line speed, and road course capability, as most of it's run on the oval. You have that infield section. These Indy cars, it's going to be exciting watching these drivers go there. And then you have the finale at Homestead, which is another oval which might suit Brophy. So this is, like you said, it's going to be a must-win for Brophy if he wants to have a shot for this championship. It's going to be at a race that he would feel comfortable winning at, as he's better at the ovals, as you mentioned. So favoring Brophy when we get to Homestead. We just got to get to Homestead, as also Watkins Glen still on the schedule. That's something that he's going to have drivers that have to think about, as when we get there, that's the cutoff race. If you have a chance going in, then you want to solidify yourself with a chance at Homestead at Watkins Glen, so you don't have to push so hard when you get to Homestead. But still about 4 weeks out, rather, before the championship is settled, but we're getting into that point where every lap matters.
Rolf's been lingering back for too long. It's time for that 33 machine to finally start pushing up. Also, Riley Thompson, he's been sitting back, waiting for his chance to start moving forward. Is Brophy a sitting duck at the moment? 10 coming to 9 laps to go. It is going to be a hard-fought battle for these last 9 laps. Where will cars be putting themselves? The car with the freshest lap is going to be the 60 of Daly, trying to make the pass here on the outside. The car with the oldest tire is going to be the 33 of Barrett Rolfe. Does he have enough in the tank to make it to the end? It's going to be close for the 33. Does he have the tires to make the move? It's going to be close for all of them. Riley Thompson in 4th, but Anthony, the real question, is this race going to be ending under yellow or under green, just based on the intensity level that is both about to ramp up?
The track is wide enough. I would assume green, as these drivers have been clean so far. If they continue to stay clean, I'm expecting a green race all the way to the finish. We could potentially be seeing a photo finish at the end of this race. The way these drivers are racing is now 2-wide racing continues between Jason Brophy and Byron Daly. Now, here comes Barrett Rolfe, leader of the majority of the race, trying to put his name back in the lead of the race. He's right behind the 2 leaders, and he's kind of stepping away from Thompson a bit. He's going to try the outside line, arcing it into turn 3, diamonding the corner, going to try and maximize the amount of run you can get outside the corner. He's going to do that. He's got a bit of a run. Does he have anywhere to take it? Does he go to the outside? Does he go to the inside? He could rocket to the inside at this point if he wanted to. There's just not enough run to be able to do it, so he's going to remain in 3rd place, but with a fast charge, he could be in the lead like that.
Yeah, just like in a blink of an eye, could be ramping this thing up as we're coming up to a lap car in front of our leaders. I believe that's a car that is already a lap down. We'll see if they get out of the way here. Staying high is that machine, as our leaders are going to be trying to stay low, but will they try to make a pass here to use the lap machine as a pick as they're slowing down Daly? Here comes Brophy now close as they're almost thinking about making a pass there. Going to be going too wide now for the lead. The 88 and the 60 machine into turn number 1 as it's now 6 laps to go, Anthony. We're getting closer and closer. Riley Thompson, though, he's fading back. He's almost he's kind of losing that speed. He's lost the draft in some fashion. He has to utilize the lap machines to try to get up there because he's pretty far back. I don't know if he's close enough to have that draft yet.
The tires are starting to fall off, and we're seeing who had a long run card, who had a short run card. Well, there was a little bit of contact between Brophy and Daly going down the front stretch. The front wing made contact with the right side tire of Daly as they almost had a moment.
That's going to be Eric Gonzalez, and I believe we might be able to one-lap shootout, or this thing could be over, but Daly's in front.
Byron Daly is your leader, the 27 and the 42. That's the cause of our first yellow flag, and it happened.
Oh, it is a massive one. This is going to be Will Roberts and Eric Gonzalez making contact here through the corner. Will Roberts goes in the air, starts flipping all over the place as Eric Gonzalez sits still. A massive wreck between those 2 drivers that we've been seeing all race long, battling hard for that 5th place position.
And it just comes to a screeching halt as the tense ramps up. They want to battle for that position harder and harder, and it just broke loose. And we were thinking about a late race caution. We were talking about the leaders. We never expected that it would be further back in the pack, but we did get the late race yellow, much to the chagrin, I think, of Byron Daly, who had the tires that he could use to his advantage. But now, do you pit in this situation? Do you come down for fresh tires? You can make it on fuel. There's no doubt about that. But if we go back to green, we're on lap 151 of 154. Do we get back to green? And if so, do you pit?
Well, it's going to be a one-lap shootout. So we're looking, if the lights go out on lap 153 for when they go across the line, we will have a one-lap shootout. You'll also know based off of our leaders, if they come into the pits here, then there's a chance for that one-lap shootout. But I think that this race could possibly be over as based on the fact on the way that the drivers are setting up. It looks like they know it's done.
That or Barrett Rolfe had a bit of a fake going into pit road, so maybe they're not willing to pit.
Cohen
We'll have
Evans
to find
just came
out.
in. Liam Quinn also came in. These drivers are on the lead lap.
So this might be going to a one-lap shootout.
If it does, I mean, this track is so massive. With fresh tires, you could pass everyone here with how big the track is.
If you get a good enough jump, yeah, for sure, you can make up quite a bit of a chunk. As you see the 4 of Liam Quinn also on pit road. He's up to 8th place after starting on the pit lane. He's made up quite the charge. He got his yellow flag a bit late in the run, though. It's the race is almost over, so we'll have to see what kind of charge he can make up. He's actually going to come out of pit road in the 9th place position. So fresh tires for the 4 car. As we're looking up at the front of the field, the pace lights are still on, although the 42 has been let around the pace truck. So what does that say? They're willing to give someone the lucky dog. So what does that say?
You can still get the lucky dog even if we don't finish under yellow. What we're looking for is when the pace truck crosses the line, if the lights go off, we are going to have a one-lap shootout. If they do not go off, this race is most likely done.
We'll have to wait and see as we look through the top 5. If this is the finishing order, it will be as follows. Byron Daly, Jason Brophy, Barrett Rolfe. That's your top 3. And then 4th and 5th will be Riley Thompson and Chad Simpson. If we go back to green, then we will be seeing quite possibly the craziest last lap shootout we have ever seen in this series, as these tires warming up, or these drivers warming up their tires. I think they know something that we don't. I'm willing to bet this is going to a one-lap shootout.
As we look to see across the line, do the lights go off? They're off! One-lap shootout, boy! Here we go!
Oh, boy. Now, this just got intense.
Okay, so the drivers that are on the lead lap, the potential of getting up front, that is going to be starting from 8th place. Cohen Evans, Liam Quinn, and Eric Gonzalez are going to be, actually take that back. Eric Gonzalez will be starting one lap down. Liam Quinn and Cohen Evans, the only drivers with fresh tires, with a little bit of fuel for themselves, make sure they're good to the end. And they were the drivers that really needed a caution there because I think they were about to run out of fuel. So they're going to be having fresh tires starting up front. And with a one-lap shootout, they have the potential. Just coming out of 3 and 4 with how long that corner is, both those drivers can make a lot of passes here at the end stretch. It
does. That is true. It all depends on how good of a jump that Daly gets. We saw at the start of the race that the pole sitter was able to just leapfrog and get about an entire maybe 5-6 car length advantage by the time they exited turn 2. Now that was caught up within the next couple of laps, or not even within the next couple of laps on that same stretch.
The back stretch is where they're going to be caught. So Daly could be a sitting duck here. On the outside row, they're getting set up to go. As the pace truck is about to pull off, this is the Fuel R/RaceTrackDesigns IndyCar Series Round 11 here at Auto Club for the California 500. We're getting set to go. A one-lap shootout to decide who's going to win this thing. It's going to be Daly, Brophy, Rolfe, Thompson, and Simpson. Your top 5. Who's going to get it done here? As snaking already down the front stretch.
He doesn't want to have them get it back up to him as he's trying to break the wind, trying to make it so that they can, but Brophy's going to be right there. He's going to have a run going into the back straightaway. This is what he wanted. He's going to set himself up for a pass. How badly does Daly defend? Where does he go? To the outside line goes Jason Brophy. This could be the battle for the race win. To the outside, Daly drives it in deep, and he gets a little bit of contact, but I think that Brophy is going to win the race here at Auto Club.
It's not over yet. Here comes the tow, but it looks like it's going to be Jason Brophy, the 88 car, who needed the win, gets it done here at Auto Club.
And a fantastic last lap pass. He timed it perfectly, got to the lead when he had to, and was able to hold the lead through 3 and 4. Fantastic run for the 88. Byron Daly gets a second place position. Really was a sitting duck on that restart, even though that he was the leader. Could not get the advantage, and give it up for Barrett Rolfe, who, even though he led most of the race, still comes away with a 3rd place finish. So that's going to help his championship efforts.
Riley Thompson, you got to get 4th. Chad Simpson, 5th. For the drivers that had the new tires, only able to move up 1 position was Cohen Evans. Liam Quinn stayed back in 9th place. So still a great comeback for Liam Quinn, who was having amazing runs of being up front and tearing it down for the last 3 weeks. But 9th place finish for himself. Barrett Rolfe needed this win to help himself out for a championship. Last season, he missed out. He was possibly even 2 races or a win away from winning that championship last season against Nicholas Johnson. But this time around, he's battling. It's going to be Riley Thompson who he's aiming for. And with this win, it puts him right back into contention to possibly beat and go after that 56 machine.
Well, Jason Brophy, not Barrett Rolfe, but yeah.
Sorry.
The similar names. I've been calling them different.
Yeah, I've been mixing them up so much, dude.
Yeah, but it's all right. It's Jason Brophy, a backwards lap around the Auto Club Speedway, and we're really going to miss this circuit once it goes away in real life. But here in iRacing, we're going to get to enjoy it forever as Jason Brophy, the best of the rest tonight at what is possibly the fastest track that these guys will go to this season. And, man, what a fantastic race, top to bottom. The 1 caution all race long. That set us up for a last lap dash, and man, was it something special. The 88 with a chance now going into Daytona 2 weeks from now. So we take an off week next week, but 2 weeks from now, going to Daytona, he's going to have some momentum on his side, and we'll have to see how he does at the road course. But man, as we look at the rest of the running order, look at Liam Quinn, where he started this race and where he ended this race. He would not have suspected that he did that all on the racetrack.
Yeah, 9 cars going to be on the lead lap as you got Bommersbach in 6th, Sarah Tessman 8th, Mike Hurley, your 10th place finisher. And then we go down and look at the rest of the results. Christian Alacio, and then you got Munoz, South, Eric Gonzalez, who brought out our caution there, Adams and Roberts, who was also involved in our only caution of the day. The rest of the drivers were not able to finish out this race, but overall, a wild run for all of these drivers. And Anthony, I mean, well deserved for Brophy to get himself in that position. And that Barrett Rolfe was hoping that it would go green to the end and he would have a better shot there. But just the caution that came out really gave everyone else a better shot for a win at the end.
Indeed, it did. And we had a couple of drivers back there that we never considered that was going to be battling for the lead of the race, and then all of a sudden here they are. And like I think you said, that Chad Simpson was the biggest one. Kite Bommersbach also. We've talked about him a couple of times throughout the race, and then all of a sudden he found himself within striking distance. Didn't quite make anything of it though. Finishes the day out in 6th place. But Kite Bommersbach, a quiet racer tonight. Didn't really do a whole lot to get some TV time. And we say that like it's a negative way. It's not in a negative way. He kept his nose clean and got a 6th place position out of it due to the fact that we had that late race caution come out. Although, being in the position to take the position away, that's something special and something that everyone should strive to accomplish.
Well, after looking at the results, it's time for some interviews. Let's take and have a conversation with Barrett Rolfe and see how this 33 is feeling after this race. Barrett, it's Sam and Anthony up in the booth. You got us?
Yeah.
Well, you look like the most dominant car most of this race, and then it came down to that final pit stop. What happened coming to that final pit stop that really hurt you to make sure the rest of the field caught up to you there?
Well, I slightly miscalculated my fuel, and I realized after that final stop, I was shooting for lap 138 or for 38 to go, and I had to stop with 40 to go, and so I knew that I needed a couple laps. So I let everybody else catch back up so that I could get back in the draft and save the fuel that I needed, and I was just getting ready to reattack everybody and go for the win there right when that yellow came out. So I feel like I got 3rd, so I can't be upset, but I kind of feel like it got away from me.
Yeah, I mean, you looked like the dominant car, and based on that last restart, was there really anything else you could have done? Because I know a 1-lap shootout is so difficult to make any type of pass.
Yeah, no, I thought I got a good restart. Evidently, Riley barely got a bit of a better jump than I did, and he got underneath me just as we went into turn 1 and 2, and so that really compromised my run on the guys up front. And so I had a huge run coming out of 4, but not close enough to do anything. So
Now, this is good for you in the sense that in the point standings, you were running well in the points. You were in the top 6 in points as we came in to this race. Going 2 weeks from now when we get to Daytona, given that there's only 3 races left in the season, how much of the gap do you think that you can make up to the top 3 in the lead of the points? And when we get into Homestead, what do you think your chances are for potentially a top 3 in the championship, or even going for a championship win?
Well, so again, it's difficult to be upset because like I got Riley to finish behind me, so I think he was like just barely ahead of me in points when you consider drops and everything. So it'll be really interesting to see how the standings shake out after tonight. But again, I mean, we'll see what happens in practice and when Homestead actually comes. It's just never traditionally been a good track for me. So um, again, glad that I got a podium. It would have been better if I could have got that win there, but difficult to be upset. So,
Well, Barrett, before we let you go, the floor is yours for any shout outs.
yeah, Ascari Autosport, Apex Hunters United, Manny, everybody at Fuel and Flatout Racing Network. This whole thing's great. I'm having a lot of fun.
This is Barrett Rolfe in the 33 machine, able to get a 3rd place finish and a solid day for yourself. We'll see you in 2 weeks at Daytona.
Thanks.
And, as we're getting these drivers in and out, now we're going to talk to Byron Daly, who had the freshest tires, almost a shot to win this thing, but just got past on that final corner. And Byron, it's Sam and Anthony. You got us?
Yeah, I got a copy.
I mean, 1-lap shootouts, they're so difficult to hold off once you're in the lead. Was there really anything else you could have done there?
No, basically, long story short, I needed to not be the leader. Like, that was the worst position I could be in for what it was. For a while there, I thought it was going to end under yellow, and I was pretty happy, and then I realized it wasn't. It's like, yeah, it's not going to go my way. So I tried getting a really good start to see restart to see if I can build enough gap so he wouldn't get there in time, and just didn't do a good enough job. He did everything perfect to take the lead there and win the race. So a little disappointed because I feel pretty good at these ovals. I just don't ever like show it because this whole race is just trying to save fuel and be in position at the end. So kind of played it safe the whole race, get there at the end, and then just lost out. So it's a little disappointing, but that's how it goes.
Yeah, I mean, during this race at the first part, what we were watching on the broadcast, both yourself and Jason drove through the field and were just making a ton of passes to get up front. How was that trying to pass and get through the field?
Yeah, honestly, it was a little difficult, but I fortunately I'll be honest with you, the first 10 laps of the race, I stuck in fuel map 3 and I just sat and rode. So I fell back and saved some tires. And when everybody else kind of strung out and stopped, being so crazy, decided to go through the field. I think Jason did the same thing. And next thing you know, we're up front just doing our deal. I think Brett somehow disappeared to a 6-second lead, which was pretty impressive, but I knew if it went green, Barrett. I knew if it went green, he's going to have to stop more times than we did. So I wasn't too worried about him. And then sure enough, it's coming to the last stop. He backed up all the way back to us. So it was game on from there, and it just didn't go my way today.
Well, you did get a 2nd place finish tonight, which is no small feat given the fact that the way this race went, because you guys were running pretty far behind Barrett Rolfe for the majority of the race and then closed the gap. But going 2 weeks from now, we head to the Daytona road course, and then we head to Watkins Glen, so 2 road courses before the season finale at Homestead. It's getting to crunch time for the season for some of these drivers running up in the top of the points. You came in late to the season, but you've made your presence known even though that you've only been here a couple of weeks. What are you looking forward to in the next 3 races, the final 3 races of the season? You think that you're going to spoil the party for some of these guys in points, or are you just going to go out there and run around and hope for the best result?
No, we're gonna go try to win. that's kind of why I show up to race. These guys are fun to race with, and I like to win. So, yeah, I mean, I'm not gonna do anything risky around anybody. Like, that's definitely not my place to, throw it in from 3 cars back. But at the same time, like, if I've got the pace, I'm gonna try to take the race win. So that's what we're here to do. And yeah, we'll keep on trying to do that.
Well, before we let you go, the floor is yours for any shout-outs.
Oh yeah, no, just thanks to you guys at Flatout Racing Network for broadcasting. Fuel, RaceTrackDesigns for sponsoring the series. It's fun to run these things, and it was a blast. So I hope to do it again.
Well, that's Byron Daly in the 60 machine, getting a second place finish here today at Auto Club. But honestly, I think we're going to keep our eyes out on you at Daytona road courses. Once again, you're always a favorite there. Hopefully, we get to speak to you in 2 weeks.
Thank you, guys.
And then after a wild one-lap shootout, Jason Brophy found himself up front. Jason, it's Sam and Anthony. You got us?
Yes, I do.
Well, a one-lap shootout. You must have been feeling pretty good running in second, because usually here, the car running in second place has the options to make the pass.
If I didn't get clear of Byron there going into 3, and I just cleared him, I think it was his to win. But it was a question of, would I get enough for run to get enough for run down the backstretch to get clear into 3. And midway down the backstretch, I didn't think I was gonna. So when I was sitting there, I'm like, okay, I think this might be okay, but I didn't know whether I was going to get loose or anything. Just trying to crank weight jacker in the car, because running it all run, I felt like I'd been burning the right rear up, but thankfully the tires had cooled, and so yeah, it worked out.
Yeah, I mean, before that final yellow came out to set us up for that one-lap shootout, I mean, everyone was setting up for that final push. What was your mindset going into those last couple of laps before the yellow came out?
My goal was just to get back to the front. I felt like I could hold the bottom. If I was able to pinch Byron in 1 and 2 and come off fairly, get ahead and then come off even in 3 and 4, I think I could have cleared him next time. And I actually think I was in pretty good shape there when the caution came out, because we were coming, I think it was through 3 and 4, as I recall. We were coming through 3 and 4, and I felt like I came off pretty even with him. And so I thought I might be able to hold him in 1 and 2 and get clear down the backstretch. And then I felt like I could hold pretty well. Like if I chose the middle line going down the front stretch, it was really hard to try and take that inside line. So it was kind of one of those that I could get enough an arc that I could make the corner without having to lift. But it was close. If you ever touched the apron, it might have killed us all. So I thought I was in pretty good shape, but you'd like to see it go green the rest of the way and actually play out. It's kind of a disappointment to see it go to a one-lap shootout, even if the result worked for me.
Yeah, the one lap shoot. We were speculating in the booth that it was going to be, maybe one of the leaders that might have, made contact to potentially bring one out, but we never expected someone running the middle of the field to do that. And we were kind of shocked when we saw the yellow flags waving. We're like, wait, what happened? Where is it? And looked back and found it. But going into the next 3 races, it's down to the end of the season. How confident are you going into Daytona in 2 weeks, knowing that you can take this string of momentum heading into Daytona all the way through Homestead? So there's only 3 races left in the season.
Yep, and I am good at Homestead, but there's 2 road courses left in the season, so I knew I had to maximize this one if I wanted to have a shot. I'll need to be better than I have been on the road courses. I don't mind the Daytona road course. And I think Watkins Glen I'm pretty good at the Watkins Glen I think it's the boot, hopefully. So I feel pretty good about that track. But, it's one of those 2 road courses. I know Riley's probably the favorite right now. I think he's the best of us on road courses out here. So I just got to make sure I finish as well as I can, leave it open, go into Homestead, and then I feel real good about Homestead. So.
Yeah, I mean, Jason, it's going to be an awesome final push here with these final 3 races. Before we let you go, though, the floor is yours for any shout-outs.
I want to give a shout-out to everybody there involved in that last run. Byron, Barrett, Riley, all 3 of them. That was a really fun, really clean race in there. We ran a long way, everybody in this race. I know we had a caution toward the end, but long way to go without a caution. Everybody kept it real clean. So I, want to give a shout-out to them. Thank you, Will, for putting this on. I, appreciate the effort he puts in to get this league going. And yeah, I mean, teammates of team talent. So even though Liam didn't have the best race, broke a headset going into this race, and so he had to start from the pits, and then it's the race that goes green for the whole thing. So no, I think that's it. And you guys for broadcasting it, thanks a lot. I'll enjoy watching this one back.
That's Jason Brophy, the 88 machine, getting the win here at Auto Club. And hopefully we'll be talking to you more in 2 weeks at Daytona. Well, Anthony, I mean, overall, I don't think this race really went the way we thought it was going to go as we're going into our post race wind down. We honestly came in, I think both you and I were thinking we're going to be seeing five wide action all race long. It's going to be chaotic pack racing. And it really, like you said during the broadcast, it looked a lot more like we were at Indy.
It really settled out to single file and two car fights, which, I will admit, given the fact that we've seen a lot of those races earlier in the season at the mile and a halfs really come down to those kind of races, the three wide racing on tracks that really shouldn't be able to fit that kind of racing. It was kind of a nice break from the chaos, and it let these drivers really show what they could do when they got into a situation where they had to maybe not be battling constantly with somebody, but just run their race, be within striking distance. So if some guy in front of you ever had a shot or ever had a moment where they checked up, then you were there to make the pass. It came down to fuel, which we don't really have that many fuel strategy races in this league at the ovals. And it came down to fuel strategy. We saw Barrett Rolfe have to make a last minute change to his strategy because he didn't have enough fuel to make it to the end if he were to pit where he was going to. So lost a huge lead coming down to that final stop. And it was proper racing to see all the way around and proper IndyCar racing. And with this aero package, I love the way that these cars handle. I love the way that they can get around this track, and I cannot wait for the last two races, or the last three races, I should say, is, two road courses, then the season finale. It's getting down to the end of the race, and before Christmas time, we're going to crown ourselves a champion, and, who's it going to be? The points battle is also closing up.
Yeah, I mean, Riley Thompson looking to be the favorite due to the fact that we're coming to two road courses out of the last three races where he's been so good. Daly could be someone that starts to push Thompson back from having a chance here to get wins and could cost him on a lot of very important points here coming to the shootout here at the end. Well, Anthony, I mean, we're coming to the end of this broadcast, and like we've stated, we're going to have a week break next week, so we'll see you in 2 weeks here for the Spooktober shootout at Daytona as we're inching closer to Halloween time. It's going to be weird due to, the pandemic going on, but still get to have a little bit of a spooky themed heading closer to the end of the season.
Yeah, I hope you guys have been watching your favorite horror movies. I'm about to start getting into that week where I just binge watch a bunch of my favorite horror movies and get into the spirit of Halloween. And, hopefully all of you guys out there are having the best that you can have in your respective situations. And I like Halloween, and I hope that, Sam, you're planning on doing something for Halloween. For those who are gamers, by the way, if you're familiar with the Amnesia series, they're coming out with a new game on the 20th, and I'm super excited about it.
All the spooky games are coming out, trying to play all of them the most that we can and have fun with it. But overall, a good time, and we're excited for the Spooktober shootout for these drivers. But Anthony, here at Auto Club, it's kind of an over thing. Jason Brophy gets it done after a one-lap shootout. But like always, thank you for being in the booth with me.
I love being in the booth with you, Sam. It's one of the best things that I get to do all week for this all open wheel racing, really. So it seems like you and I are the two open wheel masters here on the Flatout Racing Network, and it's going to continue on for the foreseeable future. As next week we've got Formula One action, and we also have IndyCar taking a week off, so we'll be back with that. But we got Formula One Monday, and if you like IndyCar, you're going to like Formula One.
Yeah, IndyCar on Mondays for the Slipstream races. It's been a blast to watch those drivers, but for us, the Flatout Racing Network, that's Monday, but tomorrow night, the racing action continues on as the round of 8 starts for the Rapid Fired Pizza National Series. They're heading off to Kansas. And then also on Saturday, you've got the Veterans of Foreign Wars Cup Series. They're going to be at Kansas as well, starting their round of 8 for those drivers. Also, you've got FTF Grand National Series. They're going to be at Homestead later on Saturday. So much more racing action for you to see here on the Flatout Racing Network YouTube page, and we hope to see you guys here and be able to watch more of these broadcasts. For myself, Sam Dyer, and for Anthony McCurry, thank you for watching another presentation of the Flatout Racing Network on our YouTube page or Facebook or wherever you've been watching us. Thank you, as always, for watching these amazing broadcasts and these amazing racers putting on a show week after week. Have a great rest of your night.